Hello, welcome pen friends. Welcome to my pen desk where I write my letters and I make a lot of mess and I play with inks. I had an idea for sharing some tips about kind of the journey that I've come along and how I really appreciate small bottles of inks. But then my mind kept expanding on it and I thought, really, I'm not that organized. I just want to bring you to my desk and talk to you like you were here. And I know that there are a lot of newcomers to my channel, so this may be more exciting to a newcomer than it is to somebody who's followed me for a while or been in the hobby even longer than me, for instance. But I feel compelled to share this as sort of like a reflection of where I've come to. So, it was 2016 when I really came into the hobby. I came in through bullet journaling, and then right away I found fountain pens through Boho Berry, who was a YouTuber who worked primarily on bullet journaling, but she had a real passion for fountain pens, and that's how I entered this wonderful hobby. So at the time that I did enter the hobby, I really thought that samples were it, and that I could happily live with ink samples and not really venture into bottled inks. But I soon found out that there were favorites where I was repurchasing. I was going back to either Goulet pens or Van Ness or a Pen Chalet. Those were the three main ones, I think. And I found myself like realizing, oh, okay, I need to get a bottle because why would I want to keep doing this? It doesn't make sense. So then I ventured into bottles. And really in the beginning, I started with getting a couple diamine bottles, and I think they're 80 or 85 ml bottles. I don't have everything out because I realized that I was just going to have so much on the desk that it was just going to be ridiculous. But I've got a few samples, of bottles and the small bottles and everything. And I'm hoping to convey that what happened to me was I didn't actually overbuy bottles. Not until I was a long ways down the road. And what I see now so I've been in the hobby at least 8 years now. And what I realize is that I can show you my favorite sizes. And they may not be, and in often cases, they're not the most economic. But I just love this size. This is 15 mil, and it's my favorite ink brand, which is Pilot Iroshizuku. And I had discovered on Amazon that I could get like little 3-packs of these, and I looked for sales, I looked for good prices, and I was really happy because then by the time I would finish 15 mils, I knew whether I wanted one of their standard 50 mil bottles, whether I was going to consistently write with them. And then even with the diamine, I found that the 30 mil bottle really satisfies, really gets me to be able to try several different colors. And I'm going to link for you my spice rack video where I showed how I store these. People that have been around here a long time already have seen it several times. But yeah, we'll take a quick trip up. Okay, so up there is where I have my spice rack, and just generally there's a whole bunch of diamine bottles up to the right hand corner there. You can see that. And let's come back down to where we're focusing today. So I really do have quite a few of the 30 mil bottles of diamine, and that seems to really be great. Now, if you notice, they take up the same real estate as their counterpart, which is half the size. But, this is a really interesting glass bottle, and this is plastic and holds twice as much ink, but either one, both of those are very satisfying to be able to store them at my fingertips and use them. So I wanted to share that. And then along came TWSBI. TWSBI came out with I guess you call it a 6-pack of these special inks, and this was 18 mil. And I love this bottle too. The only color that I went and reordered was the Royal Purple, and that one is just a favorite of mine. And the rest of them I really do. They're really flowy inks, and I like the fact that you're not overcommitted with a huge bottle. But it's interesting to me that only the royal purple got me to reorder. Okay, so while we're on the subject of these really preferred size bottles, here is one. This is a Colorverse, and it's a 15 ml bottle. Okay, and we're going to talk about how some of these are not the best to fill from, and the solutions are so simple. But anyway, unless you lose what you have, and we'll talk about that too. This was a pen friend gift from pen friend Karen, and but I noticed that now there are places that you can actually just purchase this in this size, the 15 mil. In fact, there was one, let's see, I don't know if I pulled it out or not. Yeah, I did. Okay, so these came in a little box. These are the 2024, oops, oh dear, I'm not getting focus. Huh, I'm not getting focus on the words there. That's odd. Oh, maybe here I do. Blue Dragon, 2024 Blue Dragon. These came in little boxes, and these are the 15 mil. And that's a nice amount to know what you're, to use it and figure out whether you want to get more of the ink or not. Okay, so then moving along, this is one of my favorite brands. It is the J.R. Bond, and they have this little tiny bottle, which is 10 mil, and I adore these. I've got, I think, 5 different ones, and most of them, it's interesting to me because most of them are almost gone, which is great. I mean, you don't want ink to stay around forever and ever and ever, especially in the testing mode where you're trying out an ink and you just want to see. So I recommend these, and I believe these are at Jet Pens and several other little, places. But you'll have to do your own research because supply and all of that kind of thing is changing. And what kind of price we're going to get has changed a lot. I haven't been buying ink currently, but I still stand by the fact that I love these small bottles. And then Sailor is another one. Let's see, and I wrote this down. I can never remember the size because this is a little bit chunkier of a bottle, and it holds 20 mil. But if you compare it to the, I mean, it's wider. It's wider than the Diamine bottle and everything. But I like these little bottles. And I recommend that you save them because they come in really handy when you have another kind of, when you have an ink that you're about to finish, or you have 2 or 3 samples by some weird aspect. And what I do is, now this is not the exact size. This is a pilot one, actually. Okay, but this one is. This one is an example of how I took this same size Sailor bottle, and I put my Birmingham Allegheny River Twilight ink in it. So I don't recommend getting rid of the bottles. Clean them up and save them, because if you're going to be in the hobby like I am, long term, then you're going to want those, and you're going to also use them to share ink too. So let's see. We talked about Colorverse, Pilot, Diamine, Sailor, and J.R. Bond, and TWSBI. So here's one more. Now, I haven't gotten very many of the Krishna inks. This is a 20 ml bottle. Interesting too how camouflaged, how different it looks, because this is a 20 ml bottle too, but you can see that there's a lot more glass involved to make the shape. So it can fool you. You may think this isn't as much, but it is. And this is Krishna Winter. I noticed that Pen Chalet seems to be the place to get these stateside here in the United States. But I do like this. This is a perfect amount, to really experiment with an ink. Okay, so of course I have bigger bottles, but here's a Noodler's bottle, and it holds like a 3 ounce, which I guess is close to 90 mil, which is a lot. That's a lot of ink. 3 ounce, yeah. And there's a few like this in particular. This is Purple Mountain Majesties, and I love this one. Just generally speaking, I just would prefer a smaller bottle. And I do believe they have a 30 mil or a 1 ounce in some of their inks, but that doesn't hold true throughout the whole line. And then, of course, here's an exception. The Graf von Faber-Castell Stone Gray is in this 75 mil capacity bottle, and I'm just about finished with it. So it was well worth the money to get the whole thing. And then SBRE Brown is, bottled in an Ackerman bottle, which is also, I believe it's 120 mil. I don't know. I didn't write it down. So now, so that's a lot of ink. And it ended up being per mil. It was a great price. And I have recanted it into a smaller bottle. So I didn't, I like this bottle as a conversation piece. I have it up in my bottle collection. But I don't, even with the little, the interesting fill mechanism, the little marble and everything, I don't like filling from these bottles. I don't know why. Most people really love it. So I have never ordered a full bottle of Ackerman ink except for, I think Diamine prepares SBRE brown, but then Ackerman bottles are what's used. So very interesting. And then, let's see, here's another. So, sticking in the 30 ml bottles, this is a Monteverde bottle. And I'm kind of mixed on this because I have used up a whole bottle of Monteverde Purple Rain. I've almost used a whole bottle of Monteverde, whoops, no, that would be Diamine Aqua Blue. Never mind, I'm getting a little confused. But I did decide in recent times that if I could, I would get, like I fell crazy in love with Horizon Blue after, I think pen friend Sharon sent me a sample. And I thought, okay, but I have so much ink and I really don't want to, waste any. And so anyway, this size is a good solution here. So, okay. And then, well, we got to talk about Colorverse. Colorverse is very interesting. So starting with the big bottle, they generally come like this. They come with either, a different one that's little and the big one. So 65 mil and 15 mil. And they at least when I bought this, it was very expensive, but Gravity Wave's one of my favorites. So then they also came out with, in addition to this 15 mil, oh my, I hope I'm not making you seasick, they have the little 5 mil samples, which are, you can't get a pen into them, and it's not all that practical, but they're just so cute. And this was Colorverse Cat or something. I ordered that, I think, from, oh my, it was either Van Ness or Dromgools, because sometimes I try to order real close by, up in North Texas or Arkansas is very close to me for that kind of purpose. And all right, so let's talk about the other thing that I think newcomers who might not know. The one tool is the ink miser. That's the box it comes in, and this is what the ink miser is. And it means that I can either pour or use an ink syringe to, put the ink in here, and I can fill anything, a piston filler, it comes in handy even with 2 mil samples, because I have other videos that if I can find them, I'll link them on a little bit trickier means of filling, but this is my number one thing. In fact, I lost my first one, which is so unusual for me to lose something that I use all the time, but this is clear. And if a cat got it, and if a cat ended up, see, I'm gonna throw Coco and Toby under the bus. They probably ended up taking it and playing with it, and I wouldn't be able to see it easily. So anyway, you just pour the ink in here. So for instance, when you're dealing with something like this, let me just show you, there's no way that you're going to get anything in there except for an ink syringe or or maybe a pipette if you're lucky. Okay, so this is a tool that I recommend, especially if you're new to the hobby and you want to really lower your frustration level in terms of, you could fill from anything. Now, obviously, I've gotten to where I can fill from a sample vial just by, the way I hold things, kind of get the pen. Well, I guess I don't have a pen right here. But even so, I have this pen out because the TWSBI Go is not going to fit in here. At least for me, it won't. And so I always end up pouring into the ink miser, and my problem is just, I just don't have the patience for that kind of thing. Okay, so that is one of the other things I wanted to mention. I got to look at my my notes because I get carried away, but I do want to make sure the things that I thought I should mention are good. Okay, with samples, I just wanted to admit and just kind of confess for anybody that's new here. I did find that I did okay with samples up to 200 to 300, and when I got over that amount, I had to do ink downs. I couldn't deal with it anymore. I couldn't find a sample that I wanted. It got nutty just nutty. So just a caution on there, maybe your threshold might be 50 samples or it might be 500, but I couldn't, even as something that I'm doing as more than a hobby, but also YouTube and you know, pen friend sharing and all that, I couldn't deal with too many more samples. And so I just am much better with, I showed you there on my spice rack, keeping bottles this size right at my fingertips has been a real big help. Okay, because once you find your favorites, you are gonna outgrow the sample in a hurry. And then one of the other things, I just wanted to show a couple of the little bottles. Okay, here's another one that we can talk about. This is the Diamine ink vent bottles, and they hold 12 mil. It doesn't even look like it, does it? It looks so tiny, you know? But again, with a bottle, you're dealing with a thick glass, and you're not with this. So these bottles are excellent, and I've saved mine and reused them to like send samples to people. They're perfect, especially if you're sampling out noodlers or some large ink. Like here's one, Birmingham Firebox. This was sent by a pen friend who didn't get along with the ink, but it's become my favorite orange now. So, well, it competes very closely with KWZ Monarch, but it's just really awesome. And that's a big bottle, so I'm thinking of the future on how I'm going to need to share out some of that. So, okay, so that's that little bottle. And then recently, I got several samples, and I believe they were 5 mil in the Tom Studio, and I didn't get along with this top part at all. Like, it was really difficult for me, but everything was fine to just go ahead and draw this out and put them all in vials. So I ended up transferring them into vials so I could easily fill and play with the ink. But I made a little discovery that I wanted to mention. So this might be something that goes a little beyond the, you know, the newcomer kind of level. But here's a Ferris wheel press. Let's see, they call them chargers, I think. So this is how they sample out theirs. And if I'm not mistaken, it's either 4 or 5 mil they put in this too. But I made a discovery that the cover from the Ferris wheel press fits on the Tom Studio bottle, which I thought was really neat. And why would that matter? Well, if I wanted to share a little sample of a bottle, let's see, and someone sent actually a bottle for me. Pen friend Kathy shared this. It's a Tom Studio Iris, and if I wanted to sample it out to someone, I could put it in here, and I'd feel a little better about that top, I think. Not that I think this will leak, but I don't know. This little eyedropper is not, it's just not, okay, so that may or may not like be completely transferable. I'm not really thinking about that. If it was a Ferris wheel press ink, then I would put it in the Ferris wheel press charger, you know, to sample it out to a friend. But anyway, that's obscure, I know, but I thought it was really interesting. I really did. I like that idea. And I was surprised that it still fit, because the little bottles aren't the same, but the neck of the bottle is. But there's a different size, and they're just a little different. Anyway, really fun. Okay, this is one that I don't have much experience with, but I did order some. And I'm thinking I ordered them from Van Ness, but I'm not sure. This was a 4 mil ink sample vial, which I thought was really neat. You know, it's very similar to this. It's just shorter. Okay, and then, and it's kind of opaque, so that's nice. Oh dear. So, and nobody in the hobby should be without an ink syringe. This is one of my older workhorse ones that all of the lines are completely worn off. You know, you see with this one, you can see still, you're all the way up to 3 mil. And of course, they come with a blunt tip. This one's a little bit longer, I think. This was a Goulet one. And this is one sent by a pen friend, which is cool. There's a whole bunch of them, actually, and that's really handy, because I end up wearing off the amounts. And sometimes you want to know how much you're putting in or how much you're taking out of something. It can be important. So So you really want to get an ink syringe, or 5, because they come in real handy. Now this was the, okay, so for this one, this was in the package. I just wanted to show it in case it meant something, in case it was a good explanation of what it is. Disposable syringe, 3ml. And then it just takes any of the blunt tips. Okay, so let's see. The only other thing I'm seeing here, I think, is just a lot of my bigger bottles, which I just have been so happy with smaller bottles. I just feel like I use them up, or I discover, you know, that, like, well, with the Sailor Texas, I think I'm on my 3rd bottle. It's been a super, super favorite for me. And with just 20 ml, it's my favorite brown, so that makes sense. What I'm noticing is I kind of have this ugly little thing to keep the Ferris wheel press bottle upright, and I really am going to look into getting something better, or getting wood and kind of using a chisel or some sort of a tool to dig out, because I'd like something that looked better. I have several Ferris wheel press bottles to finish, but they like to dump over, because that's a very topsy-turvy bottle. Maybe they're going to change that. I heard some kind of a rumor about that. So maybe, you know, I could, if I had any empty, I could transfer and just label, like I've done with here. I put Monteverde Purple Rain, my very, very ending of that 85 ml bottle went into a diamine bottle, so that was handy. And like, here's another 30 ml bottle, a Diplomat Orchid, and I like those size bottles too. And Kaveco Ruby Red, which I'm surprised I don't have more of that gone. I used to use it all the time. Colorverse also has a 30 ml bottle. I think this is 30 ml. This was Think Pink from Van Ness. And then Van Diemen's comes in a 30 ml bottle, so that's kind of nice. You know, not being committed to 60, 90, or 120 ml or whatever, you know, it does make a difference. It really does. After a while, you wonder about yourself. But okay, here's a 20 ml bottle, kind of an unusual looking little bottle from Dominant Industries, Pearl Series. Yeah, I think this is something Autumn. I don't remember. Autumn Forest. Autumn Forest. I'm not sure I can even see straight. Okay. Let's see what else I have back there. Well, like I said, I couldn't get out all the bottles because it just would be insane, and I got to put them all away too. But I think that the main point I wanted to make was I personally don't do as well with the larger bottles unless it's the exceptions. Like, I'll give you an exception. One would be Diamine Oxford Blue. That's my absolute favorite blue-black. So no hesitation there. Although when I did repurchase, I got the little bottle because there was some kind of a gift certificate that I got for the channel, and I was able to get the ink at a really great price when I ordered from Applebaum. So that, you know, you have to kind of look at what your options are and what you're working with all the way around for where you're going to order and all of that. But that's part of the fun, isn't it? I think it is. Let's see, one of my most expensive bottles, I'm looking at it. Let's see, I didn't get it out of the container, but I can get it from up here. It was the Mont Blanc Beatles Psychedelic Purple. I love everything about this. Let's see, I know it comes out from the side. And then I'm going to keep that bottle forever. I think it's beautiful. It's my only Mont Blanc bottle. But it's a gorgeous purple that is almost exactly like Twisby Royal Purple, though. So I spent a fortune on that, and you don't have to. That's another thing I learned. But okay, I think I've am becoming into the part where I ramble, so I'll try to turn the camera around. I've got a really strange setup, but I wanted to just chat just for a few minutes because this is my Friday video. And I also had a sort of off-topic, sort of a little PSA, I guess, on eyeglasses, because I'm just thrilled with what I got this week. So I'll try this really hard to turn this around, and I'll be right back with you. Oh, good. I managed to flip the camera and rearrange the tripod. I wasn't sure I was going to be successful because I have a little bit of a possible avalanche brewing on the other side of my workspace here with papers and everything. But yeah, so, you know, the one tip that I wrote down and kind of made a big deal out of was be sure and keep your empty bottles. I think especially these, at the time in the beginning, I thought, oh, I'll never use that and whatnot. But oh yes, I've had many reasons to go ahead and rebottle a larger amount of ink into a smaller bottle, either to share or to keep on my shelf. And because what's the use once you're way down like that and in your like say it's an 85 ml bottle, you don't need that anymore. So if you've got a little basket full of bottles that are clean, that's kind of handy. But those are my 4 favorites. Let's see if I can hold them all up at the same time. I don't know. We shall find out. Okay, so we've got Sailor and Twisby over here, and then Diamine and Pilot. Roshizuku, and these are just my ideal size inks. And so if I'm that way, I'm sure somebody else may be too. But like I said, the drawback is you really, if you start calculating the per mil price, you aren't going to like it as much. But I don't try to think of it that way all the time. I try to think of what I'm going to use and my storage, because I really don't have a large house. It's 850 square feet, and my hobby takes up a lot of it. So, you know, I've got 2/3 of a room that's completely taken up and quite a bit of closet space where, because I do keep boxes and things, and whenever I'm going to, you know, pass along or sell, or I don't really sell, but, you know, trade or whatever, I want to have the boxes. I got rid of a few, like the Lamy little boxes that are nothing but recycling. I got rid of those. So it, you know, space counts, and I think it does, especially if you're in an apartment or a small home. So that was the thing that I wrote down. And then yeah, I just like any excuse to talk about ink. I really do. And it's a happy subject for me. Once I found the spice racks, that's actually 2 spice racks behind me. And of course, I've got a lot of that little pink thing just holds all the pens that I'm using right now. And I often have to move it. So I need to do a little bit of rearranging, but because the lower shelves have ink as well. And they tend to have the smaller bottles. And really, right up there where you see, I usually have that all covered with postcards and things to kind of shade the ink. But I took them all down so we could talk and look at ink today. So I promised I would talk about my the glasses that I got. Now, these ones that I wear are so strange because these are reading glasses from several times back that are now ending up perfect for kind of not quite a computer length, but the length that I need when I need to be able to see what's on the screen when I make videos. So I hope nothing ever happens to them. These were actually free. Years ago, a company called Coastal, and I think it was a Canadian company. I haven't really... either I haven't found them again, or I never looked back once I found Zinni. But they offered your first pair free, and I thought it was a scam or something, but it wasn't. I got these, and they're just perfect for, well, I used them for reading for ages. They had spring hinges and everything, and they were completely free. But what I found is that I like to get 1 pair of bifocals, and I know this is way off topic, but again, I'm going to share it because somebody might not know about this. I get a pair of bifocals locally. I'll get the service on it, and I get, you know, they're right there in town if I need help with them, and they're a good local company and a family-run business, Pro Optical actually, if you're in Corpus Christi. But what I like to do is I really prefer single vision lenses, and so for reading, I do heavy amounts of reading, and I don't want to read off my bifocal other than just what you would call label reading, where I'm reading through the bottom part of the glasses and I read the labels. Fine. I actually tried one time to go with just single vision distance and without the bifocal, and that was a disaster. So I realized, yeah, you got to be able to read stuff too. But when I'm reading a book, I want readers. So for several years now, I've been ordering from a place called Zinni, and I'm not sponsored. I'm not anything to do with them. I'd like it if I was, but that's, you know, they're not going to watch this video. I just am trying to tell you about it in case it will help you. So what I do is order from them reading glasses and computer glasses, because that's another area where I could never seem to get it right. I tried a trifocal. I can't deal with progressives, so I'm just one of those that can't. I mean, so many people can, and even my mother. My mother's 83, and she's like, "What is wrong with you?" Like, she does the progressives, and they work good for her. So anyway, I guess I can try them on. The thing that's really interesting about this, okay, these are the reading ones. And they're very simple and they're very lightweight. So they're just really, really simple. I don't care what they look like. They're going to work. But $6.95 complete. And of course, my prescription is much lighter and less for reading than it is, you know, there's a whole calculation there. But my eye doctor's cool and will do totally separate. So I got the purple ones for reading and then the blue ones for computer. And I just am still stunned at the fact that for these two pair, under $20 total. That includes shipping. So anyway, I'm really, really a happy camper because I'm on a fixed income and on a budget, and had a brand new prescription to deal with. So that I just wanted to mention that because I don't know. When my brother told me about it, I didn't know about that company. I knew about some others, but I still was like a little bit like, really? You could get them that inexpensive? But yeah, my nephew and my brother both, you know, were showing me theirs, and I learned. So I was glad to learn about that. I still believe in getting my full, you know, main pair locally. And by the way, I complained about how high the line was, and yeah, next time I will make sure and mention it to him, but it only took about 3 days to adjust and I'm fine. I haven't fallen, tripped, or had any troubles at all. Well, knock on wood, I got to do that. But okay, so I hope you enjoyed this little video. It's mainly just to kind of reflect on kind of the journey that I've been on with inks and where I've landed. You know, I wouldn't give up full bottles for my very, very favorite. So say anywhere between, you know, 75 and 85 mil. And I wouldn't give up my samples completely. Obviously, you could see I've got a lot to work through there with my samples. But my total preference now is for those middle of the road kind of sizes, anywhere between, what did we say, between 10 and 30. I think it's an ideal thing. And you know, it would be worth it, depending on what country you're in. You can look into pricing and everything, and you can find different solutions. I don't dare delve into that because there's been too many changes. And the research is going to be different for every single person, depending on where you are and, you know, what your budget is, of course, but what country you're in. And when I study my analytics on this channel, I know that over half of my subscribers anyway are from overseas, which is kind of exciting and fun. It makes us a global community, and it's really, really fun. So I will see you in the comments, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend if you're seeing this on Friday. Of course, it could be any time now or in the future. But let me know what your thoughts are, and do you have... Now, there have been so many changes that you may be able to tell me. I know, like Lennon Toolbar, and there was another one, Ancient something or other, Ancient Charm or something. I found a few bottles, but they weren't really... I mean, I wanted to talk about what is tried and true for me, so I stuck to Twisby and Sailor and Diamine and Pilot and J.R. Bond, and the Colorverse is delving into those smaller bottles. But I'd love to hear about newer developments. So please, let's meet in the comments, and especially if you've got some that I missed, which I'm absolutely sure you do. So I'll see you there, and I'll see you on the next video. Have a great day. Bye for now.